There are four people in this house. You are the one who feeds the cat. You are the one who cleans the litter box. You are the one who noticed she was limping. You are the one who drove to the emergency vet at 2 in the morning, in the rain, in pajama pants, and paid $600 to be told that the cat was, and I want you to really sit with this word, fine. You are the one whose alarm she screams at, not the one she greets, the one she screams at. And every single evening, that cat walks across the living room. She passes the couch. She passes your outstretched hand. She passes you entirely, the way you'd pass a coworker you recognize but have never actually spoken to. And she settles, with a small satisfied sigh, onto the lap of your brother-in-law, who has never fed her, who does not particularly like cats, who has called her the wrong name at 3 separate Thanksgivings and has never once been corrected because she does not care. You have been downgraded to staff. Here's the thing nobody tells you about this. Your cat is not ungrateful. Your brother-in-law does not have some secret gift, and this is not, whatever your family says at dinner, a reflection of your personality. The real answer is that the decision was mostly made before you ever met this animal, in a window of about 5 weeks, in a house you have never been to, by people you will never meet. By the time you brought her home, it was already over, and once you understand how that works, you will never look at a cat the same way again. Let's go. So let's start with the answer everyone already has, because it deserves a fair hearing before we take it apart. The obvious explanation is that a cat picks whoever feeds it. It's a transaction. You are not a family member. You are a vendor. The cat has done the math, identified the supply chain, and allocated its affection accordingly. It's why she screams at your door at 6 in the morning and not at anyone else's. And honestly, this tracks. Cats are not pack animals. Their wild ancestor is a solitary territorial hunter that does not share, does not cooperate, and does not do favors. Nothing on that resume suggests sentiment. Then there's version 2, the one people actually say out loud at parties. Cats are just aloof. They don't really form attachments at all. They tolerate us. The whole thing is a landlord-tenant arrangement where the tenant occasionally sits on you. And this is not a small question, by the way. 49 million American households have a cat. That's up from about 40 million in 2023. Cat ownership jumped 23% in 2024 alone. Nearly half this country is currently in a one-sided relationship with a small carnivore and quietly wondering where they went wrong. So, the cat follows the food, or the cat feels nothing. Those are the two answers on the table. It's clean, it's logical. It fits everything we think we know about cats, and it is almost entirely wrong. But here's the thing nobody tells you about kittens. Decades ago, a psychologist named Karsh at Temple University in Philadelphia ran a series of studies that should be far more famous than they are. She took kittens and varied exactly one thing. When human hands first started picking them up, some at 3 weeks, some at 7, some at 14, then she waited and watched who those cats became. Not for weeks, for years. The kittens handled starting at 3 weeks grew into adults who approached people faster and stayed on a lap longer. The ones whose handling started later stayed warier for life. And there's a second finding that matters even more for our question. Kittens exposed to 4 or 5 different people during that early window grew up friendly toward humans in general. Kittens who got the same amount of handling, but from one person, grew up friendly toward one kind of person. The window Karsh was working inside runs from roughly 2 weeks old to 7 weeks old. 5 weeks. That's it. That's the whole thing. A window shorter than the return policy on most things you own decided who your cat was going to love. Now do the arithmetic on your own cat. Most kittens go home somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks. Shelters, breeders, the box outside the grocery store, almost all of it happens after week 8, which means by the time you first held her, the window was closed, shut, over. Every bag of food, every litter box, every $600 night at the emergency vet came after the deadline. Your cat was never choosing between you and your brother-in-law. That template was set in someone else's kitchen, by someone else's hands, before you existed. Let that sink in for a second. And this is where it stops being cute and starts being personal. In 2019, a team led by Atsuko Saito at the University of Tokyo published a study in Scientific Reports asking a question that sounds almost too simple. Does a cat know its own name? Here's how you test that without being able to just ask. You play the cat 4 ordinary Japanese nouns, one after another, 15 seconds apart, matched to its name in length and stress. The cat hears the first word and perks up. Second word, less. Third, less. By the fourth, it has stopped caring entirely. That's called habituation. Boredom, measured. Then you play its name, and the cat comes back. Ears rotate, head turns, attention returns. Across 4 experiments and 112 cats, that pattern held. The cat is not just hearing sound. It has pulled its own name out of a stream of near-identical noise. Now here's the part that should bother you slightly. Fewer than 10% of those cats did anything else. No meow, no tail, no approach. They registered the name, confirmed receipt, and did nothing. It is the biological equivalent of leaving someone on red. And there's one more detail. Household cats could tell their own name from the names of the other cats they lived with. Cats living in cat cafes could not, which makes sense the second you think about it. In a cafe, everyone is called constantly, and no name predicts anything. In your house, your cat's name predicts something specific: food, attention, or the carrier. So she isn't learning her identity, she's learning your patterns. She heard you. She has an opinion about you. She has simply concluded that neither of those facts requires action. So far, this is a story about a cat that hears you and doesn't answer, which sounds like the aloofness theory winning. Except in 2019, a lab in Oregon took that theory apart. To understand what they did, you need one piece of background. In the 1970s, a psychologist named Mary Ainsworth built a test to measure how human babies bond to their parents. It's called the strange situation. You put a baby and a caregiver in an unfamiliar room. The caregiver leaves, the caregiver comes back, and everything you need to know is in those few seconds of reunion. A securely attached baby greets the parent, settles, and goes back to exploring. An insecurely attached baby either clings and can't calm down or avoids the parent entirely. Kristen Vitale at Oregon State University ran that exact test on cats and published it in Current Biology. 2 minutes in a new room with their person. 2 minutes alone. 2 minutes of reunion. 70 kittens. 38 adult cats. And the results are not what the internet would predict. 65.8% of the adult cats showed secure attachment. They greeted their person, calmed down, and went back to exploring the room. The rest were insecure, clingy, or avoidant. And when they retested the kittens after a training course and a 2-month gap, most of the classifications held. Attachment style, once set, tends to stay set. Now here's the number that makes this land. In human infants, the securely attached share is about 65%, 65.8, and 65. Same test. Same 3 phases. Almost exactly the same distribution. Cats form attachments at roughly the same rate we do, which is either deeply moving or slightly alarming, depending on how your own family is doing. So the bond is real, it's measurable, and it is pointed at one specific person. So the bond is real, and it lands on one person, which brings us to the actual question: how does it pick? In 2020, researchers at the universities of Sussex and Portsmouth published a study in Scientific Reports on something every cat owner has seen and never had a name for: the slow blink. You know the one. The eyes narrow, close slowly, and open again. First experiment: 21 cats across 14 households with their own owners. When the owner slow blinked at the cat was significantly more likely to slow blink back. Second experiment, and this is the one that matters: 24 cats across 8 households, and a complete stranger the cat had never met. Same result, and then something more. The cats were more willing to approach the stranger's outstretched hand, but only after he had blinked first. A total stranger bought access with an eye movement. Here's why that works. To a cat, a direct, steady, unblinking stare is a threat display. It's what a predator does right before it commits. Slowly closing your eyes is the opposite signal. It says, I am not about to do anything to you, so run the room. Who is staring at the cat? The person who loves cats. Who is calling its name in a voice 2 octaves too high? The person who loves cats. Who is crouching, reaching, tracking it across the floor? The person who loves cats. And who is sitting completely still on the couch, looking at the television, blinking normally, radiating total indifference? Your brother-in-law. He isn't winning because cats like people who dislike them. That's the version you've heard, and it's backwards. He's winning because every single thing he's doing reads, in cat, as, I am not a threat, and I want nothing from you. You have been out-negotiated by an animal that cannot open a door. And to understand why nobody ever bred that out of them, we have to go back 9,500 years. On the island of Cyprus, at a Neolithic site called Chilo-Rocambus, French archaeologists led by Jean-Denis Vigne found a grave. In it, a human, and 16 inches away, laid out deliberately, a cat about 8 months old. No butchering marks. This animal was not food. Around them, seashells, polished stones, ochre, flint tools, axes. 9,500 years old. That's more than 4,000 years before the first Egyptian paintings of cats. The images most people think this relationship started with. But here's the detail that does the real work. Cyprus is an island. There were never wild cats on Cyprus, which means somebody put a cat on a boat and carried it across open water on purpose. So what were cats doing there? Not guarding, not herding, not hunting alongside anyone. They were doing the only thing they have ever agreed to do, killing the rodents in the grain. That's the whole deal. Humans invented farming. Farming created grain stores. Grain stores created a rodent population. And a small desert predator walked in and started working. Nobody went out and captured it. Nobody selected it. It showed up. Biologists call this the commensal pathway. Every other domestic animal we shaped on purpose. For meat, for milk, for wool, for obedience. Dogs have been bred alongside us for at least 15,000 years, specifically to work with people, read people, and take instruction from people. Cats were never bred for any of that. There was never a farmer selecting for the kitten that loves the whole family. There was only ever one question. Does it catch mice? Yes or no? Nobody domesticated the cat. The cat filed the paperwork itself and moved in. I saved this one for last because it's the part that reframes everything else. Every domestic cat alive today descends from a single wild species, Felis sylvestris libica, the African wildcat, still out there, still living exactly as it always has. And here is the thing about that animal. It is solitary. It holds a territory. It hunts alone. It does not cooperate on a kill, share food, or raise young in a group. Adult wildcats meet to mate and to fight. Otherwise, they avoid each other. Now compare that to the dog. Dogs come from wolves. Wolves are obligate social animals. They live in a family unit, hunt in coordination, feed each other's young, and read each other constantly, because a wolf that can't read the group is a wolf that dies alone. So when a dog walks into your house, it does something its ancestors were built for. It joins a group. It slots itself into a structure. It works out who's who, and then it belongs to all of you. When a cat walks into your house, it does not join anything. It does not recognize your household as a unit, because the concept doesn't exist for it. There is no pack. There is no family. There is no group chat. There is only a set of individuals, evaluated one at a time. So it builds a list. And every single thing we've covered is that list being written. The 5-week window set how many names it could hold. The name recognition is prediction, not affection. The attachment is real, but it attaches to a person, not a house. And your ranking on that list isn't decided by what you spend. It's decided by how you move. You are not a member of its family. You are a location on its safety map. Now let's be honest about something, because this video would be irresponsible if it wasn't. 4 years before the Oregon study, a team at the University of Lincoln ran a version of the same test. Alice Potter and Daniel Mills, published in PLOS 1, 2015. Their conclusion was the opposite. The paper is literally titled, "Domestic Cats Do Not Show Signs of Secure Attachment to Their Owners. Same animal, comparable method, opposite answer." Their argument was that when you separate a cat from its owner and watch the reunion, what you're actually measuring is not attachment. It's a cat that's annoyed about being in a strange room, and the owner is simply the one familiar thing in it. Vocalizing at the door isn't love. It's a request to leave. And that's a fair objection. I'd be lying if I pretended otherwise. Then there's the bigger problem underneath all of it. Look at the sample sizes. 21 cats, 24 cats, 38 adult cats. In human psychology, numbers that small would get a paper sent straight back. And there's a problem specific to cats you cannot design your way out of. To study a cat in a lab, you first have to put it in a carrier, in a car, and drive it somewhere it has never been. The stress of getting the cat to the experiment may be larger than the effect you're trying to measure. Dogs have been studied seriously for over a century. Most of what we know about cat cognition is younger than 15 years. So take all of this as the current best guess. Anyone who tells you it's settled science is selling you something. Now we have to talk about the part of the Oregon study I skipped. 65.8% of adult cats came out securely attached, which means 34.2% did not. Roughly 1 in 3. Insecure attachment shows up 2 ways. Avoidant, the cat that keeps its distance and never fully settles. Or ambivalent. And that's the one you need to hear about. The ambivalent cat clings. It follows one person room to room. It waits outside the bathroom door. It sleeps on that person's chest every night. And it's tense or hostile toward everyone else. Which, if you've been listening carefully, might sound like the cat you were feeling smug about 10 minutes ago. The intensely one-person cat is not always the most loving one in the house. Sometimes it's the most anxious. What reads to us as devotion, she only loves me, she chose me, can be a cat that never learned the world was safe and has narrowed its entire sense of security down to one person. In 2017, Mila Ahola and Hannes Lohi at the University of Helsinki surveyed nearly 6,000 cats, the largest cat behavior database in the world. Cats weaned before 8 weeks showed more aggression and more compulsive behavior, wool sucking, over-grooming. Cats kept with their mother to 14 weeks had measurably fewer, 14 weeks. Most kittens in this country leave at 8. Now, this is not a reason to feel bad about your cat, and definitely not about yourself. You did not set that window. It's a reason to notice something, because anxious attachment responds to one thing: predictability. Same feeding times, hiding places she can reach on her own, and never forcing contact. Let her come to you. You can't reopen the window. You can be the most boring, most reliable thing in her world. For a cat, that is the highest compliment available. Let's zoom all the way out, because there's something bigger here. We shaped almost every animal in our lives. We made the cow give more milk than any calf could drink. We made the sheep grow wool that never stops. We took the wolf and over at least 15,000 years, turned it into something that watches your face for instructions. Every one of those is an extraordinary achievement, the dog most of all. A dog looking into your eyes is one of the great collaborations in the history of life. 2 species that should have been enemies, building something that rewired both of them. But look at what 9,500 years did to the cat. Nothing. It doesn't guard the house. It doesn't herd anything. It doesn't retrieve, doesn't pull, doesn't carry, doesn't obey. It's slightly smaller than its wild ancestor, and slightly more tolerant of crowding. That's the entire list. 49 million American households are feeding, housing, and paying vet bills for an animal that has never once agreed to be useful. And here's the strange gift buried in that. A dog loves you, partly because we built a species that loves you. Thousands of years of selection went into it. It's real, it's magnificent, and it was also, in a sense, arranged in advance. A cat has no such excuse. There is no evolutionary reason for a cat to sit on your lap. Nothing selected for it. Nobody bred it in. So when she does it anyway, there's no history behind it, no debt, no deal, just an assessment of you, specifically. Tonight, at some point, that cat is going to walk across the room. It will pass at least one person, and it will stop somewhere, maybe on your brother-in-law, maybe on the arm of a chair, maybe. If the room is quiet enough, and you have finally stopped trying, on you. Whoever it stops at didn't win because they earned it. They won because 9,500 years ago, a small predator walked into a grain store on its own terms and never fully agreed to any of this. And because somewhere, in a house you have never seen, during about 5 weeks that nobody wrote down, someone did or didn't pick that kitten up. So if the cat picks you tonight, understand what actually happened. Nothing about you was required. Nothing about you was owed. It just decided you were safe.